In the previous video, I reviewed my 2008 VW TOURAN, and while having since sort of struggled for content, today I've decided that I'm going to go through the best and worst things about this car. Let's start off with the drawbacks, get the negativity out of the way first and foremost, and well, let's start off with the alloys because they're not in great condition. This particular one is the worst, so the others aren't quite as bad. But even so, it's just such a shame to see them in this state. If they'd been looked after in the right sort of way, they would not look like this. The rear near side window switch is a bit faulty because it only works to put the window down. Now you can roll it up using the switch in the front, but even then it's slower than all the others and it's slower than it should be. That's not necessarily unique to this car either. Electric window switches do tend to go on cars of this age and era with use. The windscreen washers on both the front and the rear of this vehicle are positioned, well, wrong. However, my main gripe is with the fact that the front washers on Volkswagens are tucked away underneath the bonnet, which makes them awkward to get to. Something very specific to this car are the marks on the front wing and the scratches all over the rear bumper, all of which were on the car when I got it. However, thanks to this touch-up pen, I've managed to almost entirely remove the evidence, so I'd highly recommend a Paint Nuts product, as it's worked wonders on this thing. Then there's this bit of trim which keeps popping out. Unlike the marks, however, this isn't unique to my car. It's not even unique to Tourans, because Dunk's 2011 Passat has exactly the same problem, and you can keep pushing it in all you want, but next time you drive it, it'll be straight back out again. The rear view mirror on this car is really loose, to the point where I've had to actually wedge blue tack behind it to stop it moving around when I'm driving. Still, one positive about this thing is the fact that you don't have to flick the tab to redirect car's lights behind you. I've had a couple issues with the boot too, or the door to be precise. You see, the day that I picked this thing up, the boot release mechanism stopped working. Thankfully, I took it back to the place I bought it from and they fixed it free of charge. But then a few weeks ago, the gas struts went. So initially I couldn't actually open the boot, and then the boot wouldn't stay open. But anyway, that now brings me on to the positives, the good stuff, starting off with the size of the boot. Mahoosive was the word I used in my review, and yeah, it's been super handy over the last couple of months. There's things that genuinely would not have been able to happen over the last couple of months if I did not have this car. Another thing I love about this car is the flexibility of the rear seats, because as well as being able to fold them down, you could of course also tip them forwards and even completely remove them. And it's that flexibility which actually allowed me to camp in the back of this thing for a whole weekend. I removed this seat, shoved it in the footwell, and then plugged the dip with a cushion. And you know what? It wasn't too bad, to be fair. Underneath both front seats are felt-lined drawers, which I didn't even discover until after I'd filmed the review of this car. And then it literally wasn't even until this morning that I discovered underneath the drawer on the front passenger seat is then an additional stowage compartment. And then as for the seats themselves, well, I said this in the review, but I am going to say it again. They are just really nice. Sure, they don't feel premium, but they're just so comfy. I didn't think much of this central armrest when I first got the car. However, having very recently done a long distance in this car, it's amazing how useful that is. It is the perfect place to rest your arm if you're frequently changing gears and you don't want to move your hand off the gear stick. In my review, I reckon that this car could do 500 miles on a full tank. And while that was a pretty good guess, having now fully brimmed the tank, I can confirm that that was in fact an underestimation. I've had 605 miles of range showing up on the trip computer at one point. 605! And speaking of which, that brings me on to part B of the fuel range segment, because having a meter that tells you a predicted range makes planning trips that much easier. Another thing that I said in my review, but which again needs reiterating, is the 6-disc CD changer. I mean, it's just so convenient to have, and it automatically goes from one disc onto the next. It's great. And even the display tells you exactly what song you're on and exactly how much of each song you've got left. Just things that I didn't have in the Ignis. And there you have it then. Thank you very much for watching this video. Please could you like and subscribe, and until next time, do take care. Bye for now.